Welcome back. So today we are focusing on the expected questions on the instructional leadership part 2. Welcome once again. This is a channel where leadership meets learning, innovation and excellence. Moving on, please remember once again under the instructional leadership, as I've told you in my first part 1, that under this instructional leadership we have three critical areas which covers, you can see on the screen: professional development and building capacity, B, rigorous curriculum and instruction, and C, assessment and accountability. So in this video, you will be able to see that in the part 1, I've covered 6 questions, and now I'm going to continue with the 7th questions. And then you'll find all these areas that I'm trying to cover it under the instructional leadership category. It's very important that, every aspect actually has been meticulously explored to empower you all in your leadership journey. Please make sure to watch till the end as I break down key concepts, share practical tips, and discuss the real world scenarios that actually aligns with this SLLA 6990 exam expectations. So if you're ready, let's move on to the discussion questions under this category, that is instructional leadership. And please don't forget to click the link in the description, or please see that you are trying to subscribe my channel so that you will not miss out any of my updates on this. Thank you. So question number 7: what steps may need to be taken to ensure that the curriculum and instruction are aligned to student assessment and content standards? Please remember, when these kind of questions are asked, you need to think deeply, analyze it very well, and then move on to the answers. So let us start with the steps. They're asking us what steps need to be taken to ensure that the curriculum and instruction, they are aligning properly with the student assessment and the content standards. So steps to ensure alignment of curriculum and instruction to student assessment and content standards is: number 1 is establish clear learning objectives and standards. How exactly are we going to do that? That also we need to explain. So how we'll do is like by define clear learning objectives and content standards that align with the local, national or international assessment frameworks. So here in UAE, we have to follow the UAE inspection framework, school inspection framework. Explanation has to be done. How can we explain this? Is start by identifying the specific knowledge, skills and competencies that students are expected to master at each grade level or subject area. These objectives should be informed by curriculum guidelines and assessment requirements set forth by the educational authorities. Now, number 2, second step is curriculum mapping and alignment. For that, how do we do? Conduct curriculum mapping to ensure that instructional units, lessons and assessments are aligned with the established standards. Now, how do we explain this? That is, review existing curriculum documents and instructional materials to verify whether it is aligning with the content standards. And also we have to identify if there is any gaps or redundancies in curriculum coverage and revise or modify as needed to ensure comprehensive alignment across all subject areas and grade levels. Number 3 step is professional development for educators. Yes, that is providing ongoing professional development opportunities for teachers to deepen their understanding of content standards and effective instructional practices. How do we explain this? In which way? What would be our methodology? And in that we can just think about by offering workshops, seminars, and collaborative planning sessions focused on integrating standards aligned teaching strategies into daily instruction, supporting the teachers in aligning assessments with learning objectives and utilizing data to inform instructional decisions. Number fourth step is data informed instructional planning. So that is use student assessment data to inform instructional planning and curriculum adjustments. How can we do that? The methodology can be, or we can explain like by analyzing formative and summative assessment results to identify areas of strength and areas needing improvement among students, adjust curriculum delivery and instructional strategies based on data insights to better meet the needs of diverse learners and ensure mastery of content standards. Number 5 is collaboration and vertical alignment. That is foster a collaboration among educators, among the teachers within and across grade levels to promote vertical alignment of curriculum and assessments. So how can we explain that is like by facilitating regular meetings and professional learning communities where teachers can discuss curriculum sequencing, instructional strategies, and assessment practices. Ensure consistency in expectations and rigor across grade levels to support smooth transitions and continuity in student learning. Next is number 6 step will be regular curriculum review and revision. So that can be by establishing a cyclical process for curriculum review and revision based on evolving standards and educational research. And what could be the explanation is like periodically you need to review curriculum documents to ensure alignment with updated content standards and assessment frameworks. You need to involve the stakeholders such as teachers, administrators, parents, and community members in the review process to gather diverse perspectives and ensure relevance and responsiveness to educational goals. Number 7, the last step should be monitoring and evaluation. So how it can be done? Implement a system, proper system for ongoing monitoring and evaluation of curriculum alignment and instructional effectiveness. This can be by using multiple measures, including classroom observations, student work samples, and also feedback from the stakeholders to assess the extent to which curriculum and instruction align with content standards. Identify areas for improvement and implement targeted interventions or adjustments as necessary to enhance alignment and improve student outcomes. So by taking these 7 steps, the school leaders can ensure that curriculum and instruction are effectively aligned with the student assessment and content standards. This systematic approach supports consistent delivery of high quality education, fosters student achievement, and promotes continuous improvement in instructional leadership within the school community. Moving on to the 8th question. Let us read the question, understand it. What trends in student achievement data might indicate that there are problems in curriculum alignment? So we have to focus on what could be the trends. Okay, so moving on to the answers, the trends in student achievement data indicating problems in curriculum alignment are: number 1, inconsistent performance across standards. So what is the indicator in this? The indicator can be significant variations in student achievement levels across different content areas or standards. We can explain this indicator by saying that if student performance shows disparities, where some standards are consistently mastered while others consistently show lower proficiency levels, it may suggest that there are inconsistencies or differences in how curriculum is aligned with the content standards. Misalignment or the differences between the instructional practices and the intended learning outcomes of standards actually could result in an uneven student mastery across curriculum areas. Number two is misalignment between assessments and standards. Now, for this, the indicator is discrepancies between assessment results and the expected learning outcomes, which is outlined in our content standards. Now, we can explain this and elaborate like when assessment data indicates that students are performing below expectations on standardized tests or formative assessments or other evaluation measures despite instructional efforts. The teachers have put lot of efforts and still it signals it, but actually it may signal that curriculum materials or the teaching strategies have gone somewhere wrong. It is not aligning with the specific skills and knowledge that is outlined in our content standards. So misalignment between what is taught and what is assessed can actually hinder accurate measurement of student proficiency and achievement. Number three is lack of progress over the time. So what is the indicator? That there is very little or no improvement in student achievement data over successive academic years or assessment cycles. So we can explain that if student performance data shows stagnation, there is no improvement at all, it remains the same, or there is a decline over time, particularly in the very core or important subject areas which has to be aligned with content standards, it may actually indicate systemic issues in the curriculum alignment. So this trend suggests that instructional practices and curriculum resources may not adequately support student learning and mastery of essential skills as defined by curriculum standards. Lack of aligned instructional strategies can actually bring down the students' growth and academic progress. Number four is inconsistencies in student preparedness. So what is the indicator for that? Challenges in students' readiness for higher level coursework or transitions between grade levels. We can explain this by saying that when student readiness for advanced coursework, standardized test or grade level expectations varies significantly, it may indicate gaps or inconsistencies in curriculum alignment. Misalignment between curriculum content and the progression of learning standards can actually result in inadequate preparation for academic challenges, hindering students' ability to meet academic benchmarks and educational goals. And the fifth trend that we can talk about is feedback from stakeholders. What is the indicator for that? It is concerns or observations expressed by teachers, parents, or students regarding curriculum relevance or its effectiveness. So we can explain this like by saying stakeholder feedback actually provides valuable insights into perceptions of curriculum alignment with content standards. If stakeholders consistently identify discrepancies between curriculum delivery and expected learning outcomes, it underscores the need for a closer examination of curriculum alignment practices. So addressing stakeholders' concerns and incorporating their perspectives can actually help identify areas for improvement and enhance curriculum coherence. By monitoring these five trends, In student achievement data, school leaders can identify potential problems in curriculum alignment and take proactive steps to address them. This includes conducting thorough curriculum reviews, providing targeted professional development for teachers, and implementing adjustments to ensure that curriculum and instructional practices effectively support student success and alignment with content standards. So by leveraging both formal and informal assessments, school leaders can effectively evaluate the effectiveness of instructional programs, identify areas for improvement, and implement data-informed strategies to enhance teaching and learning outcomes. This approach supports a culture of continuous improvement and ensures that school practices are aligned with educational goals and student achievement standards. Question number 9. What role do formal and informal assessments play in evaluating the effectiveness of a school's instruction and programs? Think about the question properly. What role do formal and informal assessments that you have? Okay, what is that role that evaluates the effectiveness of a school's instruction and programs? So, talking about that is, we can start with the formal assessment. Okay, under the formal assessment, you can see number 1 is purpose. So there we can say that formal assessments such as standardized test, district benchmark exam, and summative assessments provide structured and systematic measures of student achievement. Number 2, evaluation of effectiveness. These assessments help evaluate the overall effectiveness of instructional programs by measuring student proficiency against established learning standards and benchmarks. They provide data on student growth over time, identify areas of strength and weakness in curriculum delivery, and inform decision making regarding instructional priorities and resource allocation. Example: analyzing results from annual standardized test can reveal trends in student performance across grade levels and subject areas. This data enables school leaders to assess the impact of instructional strategies, curriculum alignment with standards, and the effectiveness of professional development initiatives aimed at improving student outcomes. Number 2, informal assessment. The purpose is, when we talk about the informal assessment, purpose is informal assessment such as classroom observations, formative assessment, student work samples, and teacher created quizzes offer ongoing and real-time insights into student learning and instructional practices. Evaluation of effectiveness, number 2. Under this, these assessments provide immediate feedback on student understanding, engagement, and progress towards learning objectives. They help educators adjust instruction on a day-to-day basis, differentiate learning experiences, and address individual student needs promptly. Now, example that we can give is regular classroom observations that allows the administrators, leaders to assess instructional delivery, classroom management practices, and student participation. Observational data provides qualitative insights into teaching effectiveness and informs professional development opportunities tailored to improve instructional practices and enhance student engagement. Comprehensive evaluation framework. Talking about the comprehensive evaluation framework, it starts with integration. How? It can be by combining data from formal and informal assessments that creates a comprehensive evaluation framework that supports evidence-based decision making and continuous improvement. Number 2, synthesis. Now, the school leaders, the SLT and the MLT, they can synthesize data from multiple assessment sources to assess the overall impact of instructional programs, curriculum initiatives, and educational interventions on student achievement and school improvement goals. Example, by triangulating data triangulation that you do from formal assessments such as standardized test scores with qualitative data, from informal assessments such as classroom observations and student portfolios, school leaders gain a holistic understanding of instructional effectiveness. This integrated approach informs strategic planning, curriculum revision, and professional development efforts aimed at enhancing teaching and learning outcomes across the school community. Next is stakeholder engagement and transparency. That is through communication. When we talk about communication, sharing, very important, sharing assessment data with stakeholders including teachers, parents and community members fosters transparency and accountability in evaluating school instruction and programs. Number 2 is collaboration. Engaging stakeholders in data-driven discussions promotes collaborative efforts to identify areas for improvement, celebrate achievements, and align instructional priorities with student needs and community expectations. Example that we can give is hosting data review sessions with teachers actually allows collaborative analysis of assessment results, identification of instructional trends, and collaborative planning of targeted interventions. Similarly, sharing assessment data with parents through progress reports and parent-teacher meetings actually strengthens the homeschool partnership and supports shared goals for student success. So let us see the next question, question number 10. What are the strengths and limitations of authentic assessment, standardized testing? Okay, so we can say that strengths and limitations or strengths and weaknesses of authentic assessment is number 1, real world relevance. Now, what do you mean by that? See, authentic assessment task mirror real world scenarios and tasks, allowing students to demonstrate practical application of knowledge and skills. Number 2, we're talking about the strengths, okay? Strengths of authentic assessment. So number 1 was real world relevance should be there. Number 2 is higher order thinking. This encourages critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity as students engage in complex, multifaceted tasks. Number 3rd advantage, the strength is assessment of transferable skills. Now, assesses students' ability. This actually helps, okay? Students' ability to transfer knowledge and skills to new contexts, reflecting deeper understanding and mastery. Number 4th strength of authentic assessment is engagement and motivation. So remember in this, we can say that authentic tasks often increase student engagement and motivation by connecting learning to meaningful real world experiences. So we have seen the 4 strengths of authentic assessment. Let us see now the limitations of authentic assessment. Number 1 is time intensive. Like for designing, implementing and evaluating authentic assessments can be time consuming for teachers. Number 2 is scoring reliability. After all, subjectivity is something that we have to keep in mind. Subjectivity in assessment scoring can actually pose challenges in maintaining consistency and reliability across different evaluators. Number 3rd limitation is logistical challenges. Actually, this requires adequate resources, planning, and coordination to implement authentic assessments effectively across diverse subjects and grade levels. Number four, the fourth limitation is validity concerns. So in this, actually ensuring that authentic assessments align closely with learning objectives and content standards to maintain validity, which can be challenging. So we finished with the authentic assessment strengths and limitations. Now let us see what are the strengths and limitations of standardized testing. So talking about the strength, first is objectivity. Standardized test provides consistent objective measures of student performance across large populations and diverse settings. Number two, the strength is comparability. It facilitates comparisons of student achievement within and across schools, districts, and states, providing valuable data for educational accountability and policy making. The third strength is efficiency. Efficient administration and scoring processes allow for timely feedback on student performance, informing instructional decisions and interventions. And the fourth strength is alignment with curriculum standards, often designed to align closely with established curriculum standards and learning objectives, ensuring content validity. Now let's talk about limitations of standardized testing. Number one is narrow focus, emphasizes rote memorization and test taking skills over deeper learning and critical thinking abilities. Number two is pressure and stress. High stakes nature of standardized testing can create undue stress for students, even teachers and schools, potentially influencing teaching practices. Number third is limited contextualization. Actually, it does not always capture the full range of students' knowledge, skills, and abilities in authentic real world context. The last one is potential for bias. Test content, format, and scoring methods may inadvertently disadvantage certain student populations based on cultural or socio-economic factors. So by understanding the strengths and limitations of both authentic assessment and standardized testing, the school leaders, the MLTs, the SLTs can actually make informed decisions about assessment practices that best serve their educational goals, promote equitable student outcomes, and support continuous improvement in instructional leadership. Balancing these assessment approaches actually can foster a comprehensive approach to evaluating student learning while ensuring that assessments are fair, meaningful, and aligned with educational standards and priorities. Question number 11. What methods can a school leader use to support teachers in the development of assessments that provide meaningful feedback about student progress? So we have to focus on the methods that the school leader uses to support the teachers, okay? Fine. So as a school leader, supporting teachers, definitely you all will agree that's very, very important. And we need to support them in the development of assessments that offer meaningful feedback about student progress, that is very crucial for fostering continuous improvement in teaching and learning. So here are several effective methods to achieve this. Number one, professional development workshops. So how do we do that? Organize workshops focused on assessment design principles and best practices. So how it can be done further? Provide teachers with training sessions that delve into creating assessments aligned with learning objectives and standards. Offer strategies for designing varied assessment types like formative, summative, performance-based, all this that effectively measure student understanding and provide actionable feedback. Number two is collaborative planning and peer review. So this can actually facilitate collaborative planning sessions to do, and peer review opportunities have to be given by the leaders. Now, how can we do this? Encourage teachers to work together to design the assessments. Foster a culture where colleagues can provide constructive feedback on assessment drafts, ensuring alignment with instructional goals and the ability to generate insightful feedback on student progress. Number three is modeling and example assessments. Share model assessments, the sample assessments that you'll get, and examples of effective feedback practices. How can you do that? By providing teachers with exemplar assessments that illustrate clear learning targets, appropriate task formats, and criteria for assessment. Showcase examples of how these assessments can yield meaningful feedback that informs instructional decisions and supports student growth. Next important point is the method is data analysis and reflection. Utilize, as a school leader, you must utilize assessment data to inform instructional decisions. How it can be done? By guiding teachers in analyzing assessment results to identify the student's strength, the student's areas for improvement, and any misconceptions. Encourage reflection on how assessment data can guide adjustments in teaching strategies and interventions tailored to student needs. Fifth method is technology integration. That is, as a school leader, incorporate technology tools for assessment and feedback. How can you do this? By introducing teachers to digital platforms and tools that facilitate efficient assessment administration, grading, and feedback delivery. In fact, you'll find there may be some senior teachers, maybe who are not that tech savvy. They may have the reluctance to do, but you need to motivate them, empower them, and see that they're also accepting this change and they're also willing to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So what you can do further is demonstrate how technology can streamline the process of collecting, analyzing, and sharing assessment data to enhance the instructional effectiveness. Last but most important thing is continuous support and coaching. This is very important. You need to provide ongoing support through coaching and mentoring. How? By offering personalized coaching sessions where teachers receive guidance on assessment development. Interpretation of assessment data is very, very important. Many teachers don't know how to interpret the assessment data. So they need to be given the training for that, and strategies for providing constructive feedback to students. Foster a collaborative relationship where teachers feel supported in their professional growth journey. So by implementing these methods, the school leaders can empower teachers to develop assessments that not only gauge student learning effectively, but also provide feedback that drives instructional improvement. This collaborative approach ensures alignment with educational standards, promotes data-informed decision making, and ultimately enhances student achievement and growth within the school community. Moving on to the next question, question number 12. How does high stakes testing influence a school's curriculum and instructional practice? Again, I repeat the question. How does high stakes testing, how does that influence a school's curriculum and instructional practices. It's very important. Number one is curriculum alignment. Now, how does it influence? Let us talk about the influence part. High stakes testing often drives curriculum alignment with standardized testing content and format. So we can explain this influence in detail by saying that the schools prioritize teaching content and skills that are directly assessed on high stakes tests to ensure students are well prepared to achieve desired outcomes. This alignment may lead to a more standardized curriculum focused on tested subjects, potentially narrowing the scope of instruction. Number two is instructional focus. So let us talk about the shift first. Okay, under this instructional focus, emphasis shifts towards test preparation strategies and instructional practices that mirror test formats. So how it can be? Teachers can allocate more classroom time to test specific skills and content, potentially at the expense of broader educational goals such as critical thinking, creativity, and deeper understanding. Instructional practices may become more structured and focused on direct instruction to cover tested material comprehensively. Number three is resource allocation. Now, when we talk about resource allocation, let us understand like we have the priority there. High stakes testing influences resource allocation towards materials and support that aid in test preparation. How it can be? The school should invest in test preparation materials, tutoring programs, and technology resources aimed at improving student performance on standardized tests. Resource decisions may prioritize interventions and supports for students identified as needing additional assistance to meet testing benchmarks. Number four is accountability measures. So how this can be impacted? It actually results from high stakes test often determines school ratings, funding allocations, and educator evaluations. How we can explain this? Like schools face accountability pressures based on test outcomes, influencing administrative decisions and instructional priorities. The emphasis on achieving specific test score targets can create incentives for schools to align curriculum and instructional practices closely with tested content to demonstrate proficiency and meet accountability standards. Number five is students' stress and well-being. Now, let us talk about its effect. High-stake testing can contribute to student stress and anxiety due to the pressure to perform well. Now, how can we explain this? Schools may implement strategies to support students' well-being, such as mindfulness programs or counseling services, yoga and meditation. So, to address the emotional impact of testing, educators may also incorporate test-taking strategies and stress management techniques into instruction to help students cope with testing pressure effectively. Last but not the least, how it can be done is educational equity consideration. So it's a challenge. High stakes testing can exacerbate disparities actually. It can increase disparities in educational outcomes for diverse student populations. So we can explain this further saying that schools face challenges in ensuring equitable access to resources and support for all students, particularly those from historically marginalized or underrepresented groups. Addressing equity concerns requires thoughtful planning and targeted interventions to mitigate disparities and promote fair opportunities for academic success. By recognizing the influence of high-stakes testing on curriculum development and instructional practices, school leaders can strategize to balance the requirements of standardized assessments with broader educational goals. Effective leadership entails fostering a supportive school culture, promoting innovative teaching practices, and advocating for comprehensive assessment strategies that promote student learning and achievement beyond scores alone. So here's the last question for today. In this video, as I've taken the 13 questions here total from 7 to 13. So let's move on. How can a school leader make data and other information on school effectiveness understandable to parents and the community? How can a school leader make this data and all the information understandable to the parents and community? Very interesting question. So first is, how can we do clear and accessible presentation of data? So what should be the strategy there? Present data in clear, accessible formats such as graphs, charts, and visual summaries. So you can use visual representations to highlight the key metrics such as student achievement scores, the passing rates, the attendance records, etc. You can translate complex educational terminology into plain language to enhance understanding among parents and community members. Number two is contextualizing data with narratives. So what should be the strategy here? Provide narratives or stories that illustrate how data reflects school achievements and challenges. And when you communicate to them, you can always, you need not only speak in English, you can speak in their native language, which will be, you can translate it and use simple words that all the parents can understand very well. So you need to provide narratives or stories that will illustrate how data reflects school achievements and challenges. So you can share success stories of student accomplishments, exemplary teaching practices, the best practices that you have, something that you have innovated recently, and any other programs that will contribute to schools' effectiveness. You can use anecdotes and testimonials from students, teachers, and parents to make it more interesting and to capture their attention and to create a good impression of your school. This all will provide context and meaning to your quantitative data points. Number three is interactive workshops and information sessions. Here the strategy should be, you should conduct interactive workshops or information sessions to engage parents and community members in discussion about school data. If it's possible, it is always a good practice inviting the parents to, and then have the, interactions. It's a very one of the most effective ways of strengthening this, the bonding. So how can you do invite the stakeholders to participate in sessions where they can ask questions, they can discuss their findings, they can provide feedback on school performance indicators. You need to foster a collaborative environment where community input informs school improvement initiatives. Next is number four is regular communication channels are very important. Here the strategy is you need to establish regular communications channels such as newsletters, websites, social media platforms, or share updates on the school effectiveness. And also you can further explain that by providing timely updates on academic achievements, extracurricular activities, and community partnerships that contribute to school success. So you as a school leader can use these channels to disseminate data-driven insights and highlight progress towards strategic goals outlined in the school improvement plan. Next, number five is transparency in reporting. This is also a very important aspect. The strategy is maintain transparency by sharing both successes and areas for improvement in school performance. What I notice is that usually we just highlight on the strengths and we ignore the areas of improvement. There is no issue when there is a transparency in communication. It will help us to improve our school in the best possible manner. Acknowledge the challenges and articulate action plans to address them. Try to, as a school leader, you need to demonstrate accountability by sharing progress towards goals and benchmarks identified in the school improvement plans. Yes, you need to solicit feedback from parents and community members to foster trust and collaboration in achieving a shared educational objectives. Number 6 is engagement through school events and open houses. So what should be your strategy there? You need to host school events. As a school leader, you must ensure that open houses, parent-teacher conferences, parent-teacher meetings, or all these things are conducted from time to time regularly in the most effective manner. This will showcase students' work and achievements. So by providing opportunities for parents and community members to interact with students and educators, observe classroom activities, and you gain first-hand insights into school programs, these events actually promote engagement. It builds community partnership and strengthen the support for school initiatives. Last but not the least is multilingual and culturally responsive approaches. So what should be the strategy here? Use multilingual and culturally responsive communication strategies to reach diverse parents and community populations. And you need to translate key messages and school reports into languages spoken by the families, by the parents within the school community. You need to respect cultural norms and preferences in communication to ensure information is accessible and relevant to all stakeholders. So by implementing these 7 strategies, you as a school leader can effectively communicate data and information on school effectiveness to parents and the community. Transparent and engaging communication builds trust, promotes collaboration, and empowers stakeholders to actively contribute to the success of the school community. In conclusion, mastering instructional leadership will actually empower you to refine the instructional strategies and improve the learning outcomes. As school leaders, you are embarking on this journey. Remember that the instructional leadership category actually carries significant weightage in the SLLA 6990 exam. It comprises of 27 questions. And with this, I conclude the part 2 of this area of instructional leadership, and please do watch the third part which will be coming in my forthcoming video, and with that I'll conclude the discussion questions under this category. Dear school leaders, your dedication to understanding and implementing these strategies will not only enhance your leadership skills but also contribute to a culture of continuous improvement in your school. I encourage you to subscribe to my channel for more insightful discussions on instructional leadership and other crucial topics related to educational leadership. Please share this video with your friends, with your colleagues, with your fellow educators who are also preparing for the SLLA 6990 exam, and also who want to learn, unlearn and relearn. To all the school leaders, this can be shared. The educators, if they really want to improve and they want to reflect upon their leadership traits, it will help. Together, let's build a community committed to excellence in educational leadership. Thank you for watching. Please click the subscribe button and turn on notification to stay updated with my latest videos. Remember, your commitment to learning and growth is key to unlocking the potential of every student in your care. With this, I conclude. Thank you. Signing off. It's Dr. Sridevi P. Tashnath. God bless. Stay blessed. Thank you.